Welcome again to The Scoop. Today, I have my friends, my buddies on set, and we have been waiting to have this conversation. Mr. and Mrs. Nizeyimana from Rwanda, foreigners living in Kenya. And let's get to know a little bit about how are we treating them, how should we treat them, how is family, how are they staying connected, especially during these COVID times. There's something for somebody. Stay tuned. So welcome to The Scoop, guys. I'm so excited to have you today. I'm sure there's a lot in store. Look, I want us to start from the beginning. Where did you guys meet?
I always let her answer the question.
Yeah, that's smart.
Thank you first for having us here. We are very grateful. We met in Belgium, so we have common friends. So I lived there, I grew up there, and he was in the US back in the days, and he came to visit his friend. That's how we met, through friends. And when he saw me, the first thing he told me was,
Wow, you're tough.
we never forget that one.
Oh, really? That's the first thing. The first words that ever came out of your mouth.
Yeah, you're tall.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. I've never heard about that as a pickup line, but that worked. It worked. But I knew you guys grew up, I know you said in the States, partly, I know Belgium, but you guys are originally from Rwanda. Is that correct?
Yes.
How did it all happen? How did you end up, in the US? How did you end up in Belgium?
So my family moved to the US when I was 15.
Okay.
So I schooled there, and when I started working, I was traveling through different countries, and that's how I got to meet Pascaline.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And you grew up...
I was born in DRC, Kinshasa.
Okay. Yeah.
And I grew up in Belgium, so my family moved there. My dad he's a professor, he used to teach in the University of Belgium.
Okay.
So that's how he moved all of our family there.
All right.
In Belgium.
Wow. So you both are you've lived in different countries all your lives. Mm-hmm. And then you meet also in Belgium. You also were born in Rwanda, is that
Yes,
right?
I was. Yeah.
Okay. And then you meet up in Belgium. And the first thing you say is, wow, you are tall, and the rest is history. So from that point, how did things happen? From the point of you are tall, what happened?
So yeah, we hit it off, and we had so much in common.
Yeah.
And I think she told me that used to offend her, but when I said it to her, she felt like it was a compliment.
Yeah. Right. Because you were tall also.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what? 6'2",
5'10".
6'2" and 5'10".
Yeah.
Oh, 5'11".
5'11". I always wear high heels, so usually I'm 5'10" and 11 something.
Yeah.
So you guys get married. Fast forward, what year?
2009.
Yeah.
So
2009?
3 years later. Yeah.
Okay, 3 years later, and you're in the US at this time.
So we got married in different countries also. We got married in Belgium, and then we had another big wedding in Rwanda.
Man, you guys are so international.
Yeah.
I like this.
And then we moved back to the US at the end of 2009, beginning of 2010.
Okay.
Yeah.
So had you already moved from Belgium to the US?
No, we first moved. We first moved from Belgium to Rwanda, because he moved from the US to Rwanda, and he convinced me to move to Rwanda before we get married, to get to know each other first.
Yeah.
And then it was something was not a big decision, but of course we prayed about it, and I had to quit my job and then be with him. So then we went to Rwanda for 1 year. Yeah. Then he decided that we go back to the US.
Okay.
But we went to Rwanda first for a year and a half, for a year and a half.
Okay. And in Belgium, you are a travel expert.
Yes.
Okay. Tell us a little about that.
When I was in Belgium, I loved traveling. So because it's so easy to go from Brussels to Paris, it just takes 2 hours in the train, or go to England. So I love traveling to the point I become a travel agent, and then I'll go to different islands to rate some hotels and just go to different countries, because I love different cultures. Yeah. And it was amazing. I still love traveling up to today.
So where's the one place that's always etched at the back of your mind?
I love Kos in Greece.
Okay.
It's very beautiful. It's like paradise.
Oh, wow.
The water is blue, and everything is beautiful there.
Have you taken him there?
Not yet.
Not
very
yet.
soon.
Okay. I don't want to cause any trouble here, but so let's move from there. you meet up, get married in 2009, have your wedding in Rwanda, and also have it also in Belgium. Okay, and then you decide to move to the States. Is that where you were working at the time?
So I was self-employed at the time.
Okay.
So I could live in either countries.
Okay.
So we chose to go back there. Also, when we were expecting our first child, we decided to stay there for some time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How many kids now?
4.
4. And the first one in the U.S., born in the U.S.
All of
All
them.
of them.
All of them born in the U.S.
Mm.
Then what happened?
So
Did you want to raise any kids in the U.S.?
we practically raised them there, but we are really passionate about contributing to the growth of Africa. So we wanted to move back to Africa, and we tried to decide where should we move. Of course, we started back from Rwanda, where we are from. And we also looked at many other countries from the north of Africa, Senegal, to South Africa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, I love your life. That you can live anywhere and everything just operates the way it operates. Okay. So you guys moved from the US to Rwanda, tried out. And then how did you end up in Kenya? Why Kenya? You tried out South Africa, you tried out Togo. Yeah. Yeah. And I know Pascaline has her views about Togo.
Yeah.
And you said the first time you landed there, you
I knew that.
knew that was not it.
No.
Okay. So why Kenya?
So one of the things that we like about Kenya, it's in East Africa. It's central to actually. It's in the middle of Africa, so you can do things easier than most countries. The culture is also similar to our culture in Rwanda, and it was one of the countries where we didn't feel like foreigners.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
So we felt welcome.
Same.
People spoke English.
Yeah.
In fact, there are people who don't know we are not Kenyan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Do you guys speak Swahili?
We do a little bit.
A little, yeah.
Okay, so you get by
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So how have you been treated during this COVID time, living in Kenya as foreigners? I know you're both Rwandese and also American citizens. How has that worked out for you guys?
I would say that, this crisis has treated everybody equally.
Yeah.
It's actually how we treated ourselves. At the beginning, we withdrew back, tried to evaluate what we were supposed to be doing to be safe, to keep the kids safe.
Yeah.
We considered actually returning to the US.
Okay.
We actually saw it as more risky than actually staying here, because
wow.
traveling and getting into small spaces or airplanes with people who've been
Yeah.
traveling all over the world,
Yeah.
it was more riskier than actually staying
Just
home.
staying put, yeah.
But we also had faith in God. We prayed about it,
Amen.
and we just made a decision to stay around.
Amen.
Yeah.
So you moved to Kenya what year?
2018.
2018.
Yeah.
Okay. So 2 years so far so good.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that the same plan, or are you looking at other countries?
No.
Yeah,
We're
okay.
staying here.
Alright. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about your faith. When did you guys meet Jesus, and at what point when you first met, were you both saved, or how did that work out? Then tell us about your journey also through church, because I know where you went to church in the States. How did that all work out?
So I want to say that I grew up in church. I can remember many days in the 90s, like from 1990 to 94, I used to be involved in the Sunday school, singing in the choir.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I didn't meet Jesus until I was older, until I think 2001, 2002.
Okay.
That's when I decided to change and follow Jesus.
All right.
Yeah, because I felt like everything I was trying did not give me peace. I was also a teenager in a foreign land that, you had to do things to blend in or to fit in.
Yeah.
And some of the things that I was never comfortable to do, so I wanted to just be myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. The pressures in the U.S.
Yeah.
Crazy. And Pascaline?
I was very young because I have 6 siblings. So they first went to church and then they all came back and they convinced all of us to start going to church. So I was around 9 and 10 years
Okay.
old.
Yeah.
And it went so fast because we started going to the morning prayers at 6:30 a.m.
Oh, wow.
And then before you go to school, and I'll start preaching in my classroom. It was so fast because it was just the fear and the love of Christ. And when you
Yeah.
meet Christ for the first time, you have that thirst. You want to live that life of Christ in your life. So, and then because I have a brother who's a pastor,
Okay.
so it just continuing until we went to Europe and then up to today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Amen.
and
Amen.
then I always pray that my husband will be a Christian. So when I met him, we have the same common Christian songs, Bible verses. So that's why it flows. Yeah.
Amen. Amen. And then in the States, you went to church at
World Harvest Church
World
in
Harvest
Columbus,
Church.
Ohio.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Pastor Rod Pascaline.
Yes.
And how did that go? What did you guys do there?
I feel like that's where I discovered my purpose, realized who I was and what my mission was. So I can say that I grew up in that church, and that's where my foundation is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
So you moved to Kenya, and how the Purpose Center? How did you hear of the Purpose Center Church?
Actually, that's also one of the reasons we chose to move to Kenya. I had met Reverend Julian a few years prior in Rwanda. We hosted him. We also had a mentor in common, Miles Monroe.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was when I met him. I enjoyed the wisdom that he had to spread, and then when we decided we want to also go somewhere we can plug in a church that has the same belief.
Yes.
Is
yes.
that yeah?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad you joined Purpose Center Church and we connected. And now you're at Rock West.
Yes.
My goodness. Why? Why Rock West?
Why not?
No pressure. Why not? Okay. Excellent. Wow.
I don't know. We actually made a decision without even knowing who the pastor of Rock West was.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
And we
So-
came for the first service. You were there in October.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then ever since.
So when it was announced, I think at the beginning of 2019 at the church, we felt like it feels like a startup. It's somewhere where maybe we can plug in and be more involved.
Yes. Yes.
When we came to Purpose Center, it was a well-established church,
Yeah.
too big, and did not know where to start.
Yeah.
But we wanted to also be able to do something in
Plug
church.
in.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen. And I'm glad you did. Now, what are the areas you feel God leading you into, especially when it comes to ministry? And then we'll go into what you do on a daily basis.
For me, I feel like using all the platforms that I have at my disposal. So my area of influence is in education.
Yes.
I work with students,
Yes.
and I wanted to bring kingdom principles to my work.
Yes.
So I feel like I'm still, God is leading me to work with younger generation to
Yes.
develop the upcoming generation.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Pascaline.
And for me, it's almost about the women ministry.
Yes.
Yeah, like how to just encourage them, how to seek God, how to serve God, how to be with God. I mean, use God as your priority, because nowadays people think about a lot of things that we see outside, but we don't put everything in God's hands first, and then He will handle everything after that. So yeah, it's more about the women ministry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Amen. Amen to that. Now, you brought up education, and I know your business and what you do on a daily basis has a lot to do with education. Why education? That's number one. Number two, you both work together. How have you made that work? So let's start about, with the passion. Why education? And then let's go into the next one.
So my passion in education developed when I was younger. Coming back to Rwanda, where there was a history of oppression.
Yes.
So people were denied education, and there were people who had the potential, but they could never reach their potential because they were denied their rights of education, even though they were willing to pay for it. So I grew up knowing that I want to start a school, I want to be a teacher, I want to teach at the university level. So it's something that God put in me even before I knew that it was actually my purpose.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Amen. And you've now turned that into a very successful business. Tell us a little about what you do.
So we have a consulting practice in education, working with schools all over the world. Also, we work with families and placing their children into schools abroad. And at the moment, we're also consulting on opening international schools in different countries.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So I know you're even sending kids to Ivy League schools.
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. Why that? How did that idea even come about?
So there are so many opportunities that are always in front of us, but it requires a special eye. So for me, I saw the gap in the need to connect students and schools, and it's because I was passionate about education.
Yeah.
I had to join a professional organization that could train me to have the skills necessary to actually be able to do the work that I was passionate about. Yeah.
Well done. Well done. How many kids so far have you placed?
So we place about 50 to 70 students a year.
Wow.
Yeah, and from ages 13
you said
to...
that very modestly.
Yeah.
50 to 70 kids every year.
Yes, yes.
And this has been since when?
So I started doing this full time since 2010.
Yes.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done. So for 10 years you've been running this, placing 50 to 70 kids all over. Is it schools just in America or is it schools all over the world?
It's all over the world, in America, North America, and also in Europe. Also work in Europe, yeah.
Well done. So some of the stuff these kids have gone out to study,
Yes.
What are the different courses?
So the advantage of actually studying abroad, you get to know things that are available to you, and then you try to specialize in something that can help you contribute to society.
Yeah.
So right now we have students who are working at high level in their governments, students in medical schools right now, students who are scientists, engineers, studying agriculture, computer science, technology. Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done. And I'm sure all these families, they must come back to you and just thank you for some of the places that, because you know which schools, for instance, you and I think had a discussion, and I told you my daughter has been talking about art. And immediately, I mean, you had like 10 schools that you thought of, and you said the best one is in New York, and this is the school. How many families have you impacted by just that information, that you know the right place to place their kids?
Many families, because we first want to know what the kids want first, and then because those kids are very successful. Even you look today for the kids that we brought back in the days, they are back in Rwanda or Ivory Coast. They are business owners, or they have a lot of things that they're doing right now is very successful. So we're also proud because we started with them when they were young, from high school all the way to master program, and it really makes us very proud, and we really I don't know if I'm gonna cut this part.
No, so if I can compliment what she's saying, one of the reasons our services are essential is because we don't just tell you go to this school. We get to know you as a parent and get to know your child, and also match a student with the school that's a good fit.
Yes.
Yeah. So once you have the right environment for the child, it's the learning becomes much easier, and students are interested to go to school. They are happy to go to school. So you see the child flourishing and growing and becoming who they're supposed to become.
Amen.
Yeah.
What's that one child that comes to mind and you say, thank God I started this business?
So I have many, and especially at this time of the year when they are graduating. So typically around this time I'm traveling to different cities and countries and places for graduations. I just discover things that they've done when they are receiving awards at school.
Wow.
So we've had students who were their class presidents, who receive full scholarships to go to schools that we've never worked with before. So we kind of also make even more connections beyond the previous connections.
Absolutely.
But in particular, one of the students I'm very proud of is my cousin. She finished high school at 16, finished college at 20, started PhD at 20 last year. So she just finished her first year of a PhD
Assistant
program.
professor as well.
And she's also an assistant
assistant
professor.
professor.
Yeah.
At 20.
She just turned 21 in February.
Yes.
You know, I can't remember
She's
what
very-
I was
she's
doing.
very
I was
smart.
21.
Yeah.
I know I was somewhere in college, but I don't remember. It's like a little blip.
Yeah.
But that's amazing. That's amazing. There's one thing I also wanted to ask you about that I remember having this discussion. You told me about tithing, and you decided as a business you will tithe. Speak to us a little about that. I thought that was just an amazing testimony.
That's something that I actually learned from the World Harvest Church.
All right.
It's a ministry where they teach you the importance of contributing to your church, but not that the church needs it, but it's also you are showing that you trust God. You give back to God what He has given you. So God gives you 100%. You take 10%. You give it back to God, and then God protects the 90%.
Yeah.
But the protection is also like an insurance policy. When you have a church that is under you have covering of a church, the insurance policy would protect you from getting an accident. Your children, God opens doors like favors. There are favors that you typically get that are beyond what you can see.
Yes.
So you might have a year where you're not sick, so you save money that you're going to spend going to see a doctor. Before, one of the things I used to be reminded of is before I started tithing, I used to have so many bills, like all the money is gone by the middle of the month.
Yes.
So when you start tithing and then you see, okay, maybe I'm doing something that I'm saving 10% to 20%, and then you get to go to a place where you understand that it's a lifestyle, not just something that you have to do.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done. Are you still keeping that up?
Oh, yes.
When did you start? 10 years ago? With the business?
No, started maybe almost 10 years ago in 2011. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well done.
Yeah.
Well done. And so if you were to advise people who've started businesses, what would you tell them has been your secret to success? And as far as especially Christians who've started businesses, what would you advise them?
I don't know if there are secrets to success. There are people who are not Christian who can be successful in business.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
there are business principles you have to follow. There are also, as a Christian, you have to follow biblical principles. So I think it was 2 days ago where Pascaline and I were sharing the story of Jethro talking to Moses. Like he told him, "You are a bad leader. You are trying to be the judge over how many people?
Thousands.
Thousands of people."
Yeah.
So he told them, choose people who to lead the thousands,
Yes.
hundreds, 50,
Yes,
20s.
exactly.
So there are many biblical principles that even Jesus used to teach about how to grow an organization. So for me, I always look at Jesus of how many things he was able to achieve within 3 years.
Yes.
He was done, and then the business or the ministry continues.
Continue.
Yeah.
Wow. That's powerful. Look into that camera right there and speak to people who are listening to you today, and they're like, I wish my life would end up like that. What would you tell them to do?
So I think you start with where you are, especially for people at this season where you might be operating under crisis mode. Jesus is still the same. Come back to God, do your part. For me, in this downtime, I've been using it to study, to learn new skills, to work on projects I had put on the side. So if you have something that has been in mind, or if you see an opportunity right now, try to use whatever God has given you to seize the opportunity. But anything that has return, you have to be able to give back to people. So the bigger the contribution to society, the bigger the reward for your business.
Amen. Amen. Pascaline?
Let God be the center of your life, the center of your business, the center of your family. Use God as your first advisor, because He's there to help you in any situations.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, that has been the scoop. I know you agree with me. This is just a lovely couple. The Lord has used them mightily and continues to use them mightily. I cannot wait to see in the next 5 years what God will have done with them. I believe everything happens for a purpose. The fact that they grew up, first they were born in different countries, they grew up in different places, moved from one place to the other. There is a reason. God never does or exposes us to things that He doesn't want us to use for His benefit. The fact that they've been able to place so many different students from all over the world into Ivy League schools and many other different schools for them to be a benefit to the place they will go back to is a huge blessing. I pray that whatever it is that you find in your hands to do, that you may do it well and do it unto the Lord. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Pascaline.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so
And
much.
Olivier for joining us today. This has
you.
been a wealth of information. God bless you and expand your business in a
Amen.
crazy, crazy way. We will share you details on their business. If you have kids who you would like to be connected to a school somewhere in the world and don't even know where to begin, these guys, I can vouch for them. Christian couple, they love the Lord and they do this as a ministry, not just as a business, but as a ministry. God bless you all.
God bless
you.
you.
Stay tuned.